So as I sit here waiting for the one computer component I need to attach to another computer component to attach to another so I can hopefully see if the new recording devices will work, I figured I would take some time to make an addendum to a recent video. The reason I am doing this is because I'm absolutely awful at this. I'm terrible at speaking off the cuff, so I go by scripts. I attempt to trim my scripts for brevity and simplicity while still saying what needs to be said, and the way I have been going about it has had some issues. The first issue is that I don't take notes while I play. This is something I intend to rectify in the future with an upcoming game I hope to do a video on. The reason this hurts the content so much is that if I'm doing a longer game, or in the case of Undying, which took 3 months to get from start to finish, I can lose a lot of information over time. Whether it's notes about the game or opinions or simple humorous thoughts I have, time is the enemy of my work and I'm taking steps to combat it. The second major issue is that I'm not very good at this. I'm guessing you've already noticed that. I went from very succinct 10 to 13 minute videos to 15 to 20 minute videos that gave way too many story spoilers and meandered far too much. My Vampire and Dark Project videos worked because I was new to the games and what they brought to the table. The Metal Age, Deadly Shadows, and Undying had me spending far too much time talking about the story when there was really no need to. Thief 4 was so long because there was just so much moronic shit going on there. The third major issue is that the first two issues start to mix together. Undying was some 25 goddamn minutes long. I spent 3 days writing, rewriting, and trimming my script. For most of my videos, roughly 1 to 2 minutes of content would end up on the cutting room floor. For Undying, it was about 5 minutes. When I needed to trim 10 more, I needed to add 5 more minutes back in. And this video is focusing on what needed to be added, things I needed to say about the game but simply cut because as I was editing, even I felt I had been meandering too much. I kind of need a script editor because what I saw as meandering I actually needed, and what I didn't see as meandering was shitty filler, and I'm not even talking about the puppet stuff. So what got cut from the video that I really needed to have in? Well, this is a bit of a mea culpa moment because I did a humongous disservice to this game when I cut it out. I can only apologize to Mr. Barker, the developers, and you, the viewer, for cutting it because it ended up failing to paint an accurate portrait of my feelings of the game and of the game itself. I mentioned that Undying suffers from problems in level design that Jericho would suffer from later on, but what I failed to mention was that another problem Jericho suffers from, this game does so wonderfully that it shapes the way we see some of the characters. Characterization is a powerful tool, and in the case of but 1 or 2 characters, it's done incredibly well in this game. Lisbeth is what is referred to as a socialite. Basically, it's an aristocrat with more interest in the social aspects of life, hence the name, than with the actual monetary or work aspect of it. If you want a point of reference, think of Aletha Quindinier from Elven Star, the second book of the Deathgate cycle. Your encounters with her take place over a long series. You're not just introduced to her and then after a couple levels find and kill her. She stalks you even as you chase her, taunts you, harasses you to get in your way, and toys with you. She uses her position and power to get in your way without having to come into direct contact with you until you finally reach her little hideout. The levels are designed around this aspect, her being close enough to almost touch, but then stepping just out of reach while the little monsters step in to pick you off. The character plays a lot like the structure of the levels in that way. Ambrose is absent not just from the game but from the family. His journal entries read that he really doesn't see much use in the family and leaves. He returns later to put some sort of blame on his father and then kill him, and does the same with Jeremiah. Part of his absence speaks to his character. Throughout his segment we see him once and then have a boss fight with him. We spend more time dealing with his friends than we do him. Ambrose sees himself as a mastermind using his friends and lackeys to do his work, believing he holds power over them and only stepping in when all else fails. In truth, Ambrose is a useful idiot. Before he attempts to kill Jeremiah, he speaks very specifically. He asks why Jerry had to bring an outsider into family business, questions if he couldn't finish what he started at the Standing Stones. Ambrose thinks that what is going on is a family feud. Between Lisbeth's behavior and the way Bethany tortures Aaron, he doesn't take the time to actually pay attention to the middle ground of what part he plays into it and what part Jeremiah plays. All he sees is a curse on the family members who dislike him for killing their father, and Jerry bringing in Patrick to help out with something. He has no sight of the bigger picture and thinks it's all about some sort of spat that started between them years ago. He's self-centered to the point of blindness, and his absence only exacerbates it. In truth, he's creating the exact havoc that Jerry needs to push Patrick along the breadcrumb trail to killing them and awaking the Undying King. A useful idiot always believes they're some sort of important leader. Aaron is one of my favorites, but that's probably just because I'm a shit poster. He has no real levels dedicated to him. Instead, you encounter him multiple times throughout the mansion where he's just taunting and prodding you. Once his prodding fails to garner the reaction he wants, he turns to more extreme measures to harass you. Bethany's journal talks about how he's a pest, regularly becoming a thorn in everyone's side. In effect, he's a troll, always looking to jab people in the kidney just to watch them jump, and he's always willing to go further in his pranks to provoke that jump. As I said, there are no specific levels dedicated to him and his character, but instead he occupies the mansion, the only place he truly needs to be to play out his games. Bethany is one of the poorly made characters. She's absent all but until you use your Eye of Agamotto to figure out where Aaron's jaw is, and then you don't encounter her again until the final stretch of the game. She learned her sorcery from Kaisinger, believes he's some simpleton and that she is his better. She's arrogant and self-centered, believing others are inferior to her and that all are mere pawns to her grand stratagem. It could explain her levels involving under-civilized peoples, but I think that's just mere coincidence at best. She has very little screen time, less journal time, and no personality. Jeremiah is your basic mastermind. He lies to you and manipulates you. He's not given a lot of characterization because he's not allowed to. The only way the whole "it was me, Austin, it was me all along" scenario works is if we don't get a very good look into who he is. The best look we get, and only hint we get, is his journal about taking his siblings out to the Standing Stones and performing the ritual that cursed them all. That's all we're allowed to get, otherwise the twist is given away wholesale. He's not written poorly, he just doesn't add much to the game. Kaisinger does not suffer from bad characterization, he's just not a very good character trope. Otto is the grand mastermind. Jeremiah orchestrated the whole situation, but it was by Otto's design. Patrick wants to kill Kaisinger, so he lets him believe he did to push him along the way. He cultivated Bethany in a way that she'll do the exact work he needs her to do while believing her to be his better. He pushes, nudges, and prods, all without ever stepping in himself. He plants ideas in such a way that the Covenants believe it was their idea all along. It's not difficult once you learn how to manipulate people. And all the while, keeping the appearance that he's little more than just another pawn in the game. He makes others believe they're in control when really he's the all-powerful behind it all. Think of a more nefarious version of Zifnab going back to the Deathgate cycle. It's not bad characterization that is the problem, it's just a bad character. The Grand Mastermind is never very interesting because their machinations occupy a dimension that human thought processes cannot. Therefore, to make them more mysterious and powerful, they are just absent more of the time. Not that great. Patrick is a pawn that becomes aware of that fact. That's it. So what we get are chapters of the game that are built around and like the characters they represent, excepting of course in the case of Bethany. It gives you an intimacy with the characters that most games fail to achieve even today. Each character is unique and you learn about them, and this game does it masterfully. So that's what I cut out. That's what, due to my own incompetence, was missed from the video. I hope to have to do very few of these ever, as otherwise it would mean I'm not improving. It helps give more perspective into my thought processes, but I kind of need to be doing that in a way that is succinct and in the original video. I'm the TheNecroswanson, and I hope to have this damn computer part soon.